Are you still paying for streaming apps while YouTube quietly hides real Hollywood movies for free? That sounds impossible. But the truth is even stranger. Major studio hits can appear in YouTube's free with ads section, then vanish without warning. Some may not be free in every region today, but this rotating shelf is where surprisingly big titles often show up. And the best ones are the easiest to miss. Number 20, Truth or Dare, 2018. A harmless party game becomes a trap you cannot log out of. Truth or Dare looks like the kind of movie you click on casually, thinking it will be simple popcorn horror. But that is exactly why it works so well on YouTube's free with ads shelf. It starts with young friends, a vacation mood, and one reckless game that should have ended after a few laughs. Instead, the rules follow them home, twisting ordinary choices into life or death decisions. The film is not trying to be quiet or subtle. It knows how to grab attention with creepy smiles, sudden pressure, and that uncomfortable question: what would you confess if lying could destroy you? For viewers scrolling through YouTube looking for something fast, dark, and easy to get pulled into, this is the kind of thriller that does not ask for patience. It grabs your collar early and keeps asking one cruel question: truth, dare, or something worse? Number 19. The Quiet, 2005. Some houses do not hide ghosts. They hide people's worst secrets. The Quiet is not the kind of movie that explodes with noise, and that is exactly what makes it unsettling. It moves like a whisper through a family that looks normal from the outside, but feels deeply broken the moment you step inside. The story follows a deaf teenager brought into a home where silence is not peaceful, it is dangerous. Beneath the polite faces and clean rooms, there is manipulation, loneliness, resentment, and a kind of emotional rot that keeps spreading. This is the type of film that can surprise viewers on YouTube because it does not feel like a casual free pick. It feels heavier, stranger, and more uncomfortable than expected. Instead of relying on jump scares, it builds tension through glances, secrets, and things nobody wants to say out loud. By the end, The Quiet is not empty at all. It is loaded. Number 18. Jeepers Creepers, 2001. The road looks empty until something starts following you. Jeepers Creepers begins with one of horror's most effective setups. Two siblings driving through isolated countryside, joking, arguing, and thinking the worst thing ahead of them is a boring road trip. Then an old truck appears, aggressive and unnatural, and suddenly the highway feels like a hunting ground. What makes this movie such a strong free-watch pick is how quickly it turns everyday travel into pure dread. There is dust, heat, abandoned buildings, and that awful feeling that curiosity may be the most dangerous mistake a person can make. The creature at the center of the story became memorable because it is not just chasing victims. It feels ancient, patient, and almost impossible to understand. For viewers who love early 2000s horror, this one carries that gritty, pre-smartphone fear where nobody can simply call their way out. Once the creeper notices you, the road stops being a way out. Number 17. Coneheads, 1993. Not every alien invasion arrives with lasers. Some arrive with fake names and suburban confusion. Coneheads is the kind of strange comedy that could only come from a very specific era of Hollywood, when studios still took weird Saturday Night Live sketches and turned them into full-blown movies. The joke is simple but surprisingly charming. An alien family lands on Earth and tries to blend into ordinary American life, despite looking completely impossible to miss. What makes it fun is not just the visual gag of their cone-shaped heads, but the way the movie turns immigration, family life, work pressure, and fitting in into absurd science fiction comedy. It is silly, broad, and proudly ridiculous, but that is also why it stands out in a free YouTube lineup. Not every movie has to be intense to be worth watching. Sometimes the hidden gem is the one that lets you relax, laugh at human behavior, and wonder whether Earth is actually the weird planet. Number 16. Mallrats, 1995. Before superheroes ruled every screen, comic book culture had a messier, louder, more chaotic home: the mall. Mallrats is not polished in the traditional Hollywood sense, and that roughness is part of its charm. It follows young slackers drifting through a shopping mall, dealing with breakups, bad ideas, strange conversations, and the kind of pointless arguments that somehow become the entire point. Kevin Smith gives the movie its fast-talking, sarcastic energy, turning ordinary mall culture into a playground of pop culture obsession. Today, it feels like a time capsule from an era before online fandom became massive, when people gathered in food courts, game stores, and comic shops to build their own little worlds. For YouTube viewers, it is the kind of free movie that works best when you are in the mood for attitude rather than elegance. It is rude, goofy, uneven, and completely alive. The mall may be dying, but this movie keeps its strange spirit buzzing. Number 15, The Good Shepherd, 2006. Some spy movies chase explosions. This one follows the men who learned how to weaponize silence. The Good Shepherd is a serious, slow-burning look at the early world of American intelligence, where loyalty, secrecy, and personal sacrifice blur until nobody is fully clean. Instead of giving viewers a glamorous spy fantasy, the film shows espionage as cold rooms, coded conversations, broken marriages, and decisions that can haunt a nation for decades. Matt Damon plays a man who gives more and more of himself to the agency until it becomes hard to tell whether he still has a private life at all. The cast is heavy with prestige, and the mood is deliberately restrained, making the film feel less like a thriller ride and more like a classified file being opened page by page. On YouTube's rotating free shelf, this is a strong pick for viewers who want something mature, political, and quietly tense. The danger here is not loud, it is institutional. Number 14, Girl Interrupted, 1999. The most frightening prison in this movie is not a locked room. It is the mind when nobody believes it deserves help. Girl Interrupted is a performance-driven drama that pulls viewers into a psychiatric hospital where young women are not simply patients on a chart. They are wounded, complicated, funny, angry, and unforgettable. Winona Ryder gives the story its vulnerable center, while Angelina Jolie delivers the kind of magnetic, dangerous performance that can dominate a scene the moment she enters it. The film explores identity, rebellion, friendship, and the fear of being labeled by people who think they already understand you. What makes it effective as a YouTube watch is its emotional immediacy. You may click because you recognize the title or the cast, but you stay because the characters feel unstable in deeply human ways. It is not just about breakdowns. It is about being young, lost, and terrified that the world has already decided who you are. Number 13, Split, 2016. A locked room, 3 terrified girls, and 1 man whose mind feels like a maze with no safe exit. Split became a major turning point because it reminded audiences how powerful a focused psychological thriller could be when built around one terrifying performance. James McAvoy carries the film through shifting personalities, changing his posture, voice, energy, and emotional temperature in ways that make every scene unpredictable. The setup is simple enough to hook anyone. A kidnapping, a confined space, and the growing realization that the captor is more dangerous than the victims first understood. But the movie's real strength is the slow escalation, as each new personality reveals another piece of a larger nightmare. It is tense without needing constant action, disturbing without becoming overly graphic, and built around the kind of mystery that makes viewers keep watching just to understand what is coming next. On YouTube's free rotation, this is the kind of thriller that feels too big to scroll past. Number 12, Miss Congeniality, 2000. A beauty pageant should not need an undercover agent, but that is exactly where the comedy begins. Miss Congeniality works because it takes a serious FBI setup and drops it into a world of glitter, gowns, rehearsed smiles, and perfectly staged politeness. Sandra Bullock plays Gracie Hart with the kind of awkward confidence that makes the movie endlessly rewatchable. She is tough, sarcastic, uncomfortable in heels, and completely uninterested in pretending to be delicate, which makes her transformation both funny and strangely satisfying. The movie never loses sight of its main pleasure: watching someone who does not belong in a polished world slowly expose how fake that world can be. At the same time, it has warmth, timing, and a strong, comfort movie rhythm. For viewers browsing YouTube's free section, this is an easy yes because it delivers exactly what people want from a mainstream comedy: laughs, charm, a memorable lead, and enough heart to make the ending feel earned. Number 11. Notting Hill, 1999. The fantasy is simple. The most famous woman in the world walks into an ordinary bookstore and changes everything. Notting Hill remains one of the most beloved romantic comedies because it understands the emotional power of impossible closeness. Julia Roberts plays a movie star surrounded by fame, cameras, and public obsession, while Hugh Grant plays a quietly awkward bookseller whose normal life suddenly becomes anything but normal. The contrast is what makes the film sparkle. It is not just about romance. It is about privacy, insecurity, class, celebrity, and the strange loneliness that can exist even when the whole world knows your name. The supporting characters add warmth and humor, making the story feel like a cozy neighborhood fantasy rather than a glossy Hollywood machine. On YouTube's free shelf, this is the kind of movie that reminds viewers why romantic comedies once felt like major cultural events. It is soft, funny, emotional, and built around one irresistible question: could a fairy tale survive real life? Number 10. Bridget Jones' Diary, 2001. Some romantic heroines enter perfectly dressed. Bridget Jones enters with bad timing, messy feelings, and a diary full of damage control. That is why the movie still connects. Bridget is not presented as flawless, and the comedy comes from how painfully recognizable her embarrassments feel. She worries about love, career, self-image, family pressure, and the terrifying possibility of choosing the wrong person while everyone else seems to have life figured out. Renee Zellweger gives the character warmth and comic vulnerability, while the story uses the classic love triangle structure to create constant emotional tension. What makes Bridget Jones's Diary such a strong pick for YouTube's free rotation is its comfort factor. It is funny without being empty, romantic without feeling too polished, and honest enough to make viewers laugh at things they secretly understand. Bridget's chaos is the hook, but her resilience is the reason people return. She is not perfect, and that is exactly why the movie works. Number 9. Legally Blonde, 2001. The most underestimated woman in the room is often the one everyone should have feared. Legally Blonde looks bright, funny, and sweet on the surface. But underneath all the pink outfits and sunny confidence is a sharp story about judgment. Elle Woods is dismissed before she even speaks, not because she lacks intelligence, but because she does not look like the version of intelligence people expect. That is the secret power of the movie. It turns a bubbly comedy into a revenge story without making Elle bitter. She does not destroy people by becoming cruel. She proves them wrong by becoming better prepared, more focused, and more emotionally intelligent than the people laughing at her. Reese Witherspoon gives the film its electricity, playing Elle as charming, funny, vulnerable, and quietly unstoppable. The courtroom scenes work because the movie has trained you to see what everyone else misses. Elle notices details because she understands people. That makes this more than a comfort comedy. It is a movie about confidence surviving humiliation. On YouTube's rotating free shelf, this is the kind of film that feels instantly rewatchable because it gives viewers both laughter and a satisfying emotional payoff. You click for the comedy, but you stay for the transformation. By the end, Elle Woods has not changed who she is to fit the world. She has forced the world to admit it was wrong about her. Number 8. What's Eating Gilbert Grape, 1993. Some lives do not explode. They quietly sink under the weight of responsibility. What's Eating Gilbert Grape is a small-town drama with a title that sounds unusual, but the emotion inside it is painfully clear. Gilbert is a young man trapped between duty and desire, caring for his family while watching the rest of the world move forward without him. Johnny Depp gives him a quiet sadness, the look of someone who has become tired before life has really begun. But the performance that stunned audiences was Leonardo DiCaprio's, bringing heartbreaking innocence, unpredictability, and warmth to Arnie, Gilbert's younger brother. The film never turns the family into a simple tragedy. Instead, it shows the messy truth of love. Sometimes the people you would do anything for are also the people who make you feel trapped. That emotional tension is what makes the movie linger. It is not built on big twists or loud scenes. It survives on small looks, unfinished dreams, and the ache of wanting to escape without abandoning the people who need you. As a free YouTube discovery, it stands out because it feels human in a way many bigger films do not. It reminds viewers that ordinary lives can carry extraordinary pressure. Gilbert is not fighting monsters or villains. He is fighting guilt, exhaustion, loyalty, and the terrifying question of whether wanting your own life makes you selfish. Number 7. Dazed and Confused, 1993. Nothing huge happens, yet somehow it feels like an entire generation is being captured before it disappears. Dazed and Confused is the kind of movie that sneaks up on you because it refuses to behave like a normal, plot-driven story. It follows teenagers drifting through the last day of school, chasing parties, flirting, cruising in cars, testing freedom, and pretending they are less nervous about the future than they really are. The magic is in the atmosphere. The music, the clothes, the cars, the hazy evening light, and the casual conversations all make the film feel like a memory someone forgot to lock away. Richard Linklater does not force the story into one dramatic lesson. Instead, he lets the characters wander, and that wandering becomes the point. You watch them trying on identities, acting cool, making bad choices, and searching for some kind of meaning in a night that may not mean anything until years later. It is also famous for capturing future stars before they became fully recognizable, especially Matthew McConaughey, whose relaxed charisma became one of the film's lasting signatures. On YouTube's rotating free shelf, this is a perfect late-night watch because it feels effortless. But beneath the relaxed surface is something sharper. Youth is temporary, freedom is confusing, and the nights that feel meaningless while they are happening often become the ones people remember forever. Number 6. True Grit, 2010. Revenge walks differently when it is carried by a child who refuses to be treated like one. True Grit is a Western with dust, violence, harsh landscapes, and old-fashioned danger. But its real engine is Maddie Ross, a young girl determined to bring her father's killer to justice. Haley Steinfeld gives Maddie a fierce intelligence that cuts through every scene. She is not simply brave, she is stubborn, precise, and unwilling to let adults talk over her grief. Jeff Bridges plays Rooster Cogburn as rough, drunk, dangerous, and strangely honorable, while Matt Damon adds a different kind of pride and tension as a Texas Ranger trying to control a situation that never fully belongs to him. The Coen brothers give the movie a dry, severe beauty, making the frontier feel both mythic and brutally practical. Every conversation has bite, every journey feels risky, and every act of justice comes with a cost. What makes this a strong, free YouTube pick is how complete it feels. It has adventure, character, humor, danger, and emotional weight without wasting a scene. The film understands that revenge stories are never only about punishment. They are about what grief turns people into when the law feels too slow and the world feels too cruel. Maddie enters the wilderness looking for justice, but the deeper hook is whether justice can ever return what violence has already taken. Number 5. It Happened One Night, 1934. Before romantic comedies became formulas, this film helped invent the rules everyone else kept borrowing. It Happened One Night may look old to modern viewers, but the moment it starts moving, the rhythm still feels alive. The story follows a spoiled runaway heiress and a sharp, broke newspaper reporter forced into each other's orbit during a cross-country journey. That setup could have been simple, but Clark Gable and Claudette Colbert turn it into pure screen chemistry. They argue, tease, challenge, and slowly reveal that their irritation is hiding attraction. What makes the film important is not just its charm, but its influence. The enemies to lovers energy, the road trip structure, the class clash, the witty banter, and the gradual emotional thaw all helped shape decades of romantic comedy storytelling. It also became one of the rare films to win the 5 major Academy Awards: Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, Best Actress, and Best Screenplay. But the real reason to watch it now is simpler. It still works. The comedy has speed, the romance has tension, and the characters feel more modern than expected. On YouTube's free shelf, it is the kind of classic that can surprise people who think older movies are slow. This one has movement, attitude, and a spark that refuses to fade. It is not just film history, it is entertainment with a pulse. Number 4. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. 1966. 3 men chase buried gold, but the real treasure is the tension stretched between every stare, silence, and gunshot. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is not just a Western, it is a cinematic ritual. Sergio Leone takes a simple treasure hunt and turns it into something massive, dirty, stylish, and almost operatic. Clint Eastwood's cool, controlled presence became iconic, but the film's power comes from the triangle between Blondie, Angel Eyes, and Tuco. Each man wants the money, each man distrusts the others, and every alliance feels temporary enough to collapse at any second. Ennio Morricone's music is so famous it almost lives outside the movie now, but inside the film it becomes a second language, turning dust and distance into myth. What makes this such a powerful YouTube discovery is its scale. Even if someone has never watched classic westerns, they probably know the sound, the imagery, the standoff energy. The film shaped how generations imagined the West, not clean heroism, but greed, survival, betrayal, and style burned into the landscape. It moves slowly when it wants to, then tightens like a wire when danger arrives. By the final showdown, the movie has trained you to watch every eye movement like it matters. And it does. This is not just a free movie to pass time. It is one of cinema's great tests of patience, nerve, and payoff. Number 3. Saving Private Ryan, 1998. The first 20 minutes do not feel like a scene. They feel like cinema being forced to look war directly in the face. Saving Private Ryan became a landmark because Steven Spielberg stripped away the clean, heroic distance that many war films had used before. The opening assault on Omaha Beach is chaotic, terrifying, disorienting, and unforgettable, placing viewers inside confusion rather than safely above it. But the film is not only remembered for its battle realism. At its center is a painful moral question. How much should be sacrificed to save one man? Tom Hanks brings quiet authority and emotional exhaustion to Captain Miller, a leader trying to hold his men together while the mission itself becomes harder to justify. The soldiers around him are not symbols. They are frightened, angry, loyal, doubtful, and human. That is why the movie still hits with force. It understands that war stories are not only about victory, they are about fear, memory, duty, and the impossible weight carried by survivors. On YouTube's rotating free shelf, this is the kind of film that feels too important to ignore when it appears. It is not casual background viewing. It demands attention. The action is intense, but the lasting impact comes from the silence after the violence, when the viewer is left with one brutal question. What does it mean to earn a life someone else died to protect? Number 2. Children of Men, 2006. The world does not end with one explosion. Sometimes, it ends when people stop believing tomorrow will exist. Children of Men is one of the most haunting dystopian films of the century because its future feels frighteningly close. Humanity has become infertile. Society is collapsing. Governments are brutal. And hope has turned into something almost embarrassing to believe in. Clive Owen plays Theo, a tired man moving through a broken world with the numbness of someone who has already lost too much. Then, one discovery changes everything. A pregnant woman exists in a world where no child has been born for years. That single miracle turns the film into a chase, a prayer, and a warning at the same time. Alfonso Cuarón's direction gives the movie an unbearable realism, especially in the long, fluid sequences that make danger feel impossible to escape. The camera does not let viewers look away. It follows panic through streets, cars, crowds, and war zones until survival feels physical. As a YouTube free watch pick, this one stands apart because it is not just entertainment. It feels urgent, political, emotional, and strangely sacred. The film asks what people become when the future disappears, but its deeper question is even sharper. If hope returned for one fragile moment, would humanity protect it, exploit it, or destroy it? Number 1. The Matrix, 1999. The most dangerous prison is the one you do not know you are living inside. The Matrix did not just become a hit. It rewired the way audiences thought about action, science fiction, technology, and reality itself. The story begins with Thomas Anderson, a quiet programmer living a double life as Neo, a hacker searching for an answer he cannot fully name. Then Morpheus enters with a terrifying possibility. The world Neo accepts as real may be a constructed illusion. That idea alone is powerful. But the film turns philosophy into pure cinematic adrenaline. Bullet time, black leather, green code, martial arts, sunglasses, impossible jumps, and machine-controlled reality all became part of pop culture almost instantly. Keanu Reeves gives Neo a perfect mix of uncertainty and destiny, while Lawrence Fishburne and Carrie-Anne Moss bring mythic intensity to Morpheus and Trinity. What makes The Matrix so effective on YouTube's free rotation is that it still feels modern. Its questions about control, technology, identity, and awakening have only grown sharper with time. The movie works as action, mystery, cyberpunk, and spiritual rebellion all at once. You can watch it for the fights, but the real hook is the suspicion it plants in your mind. What if comfort is the trap? What if freedom hurts? And what if waking up is only the beginning? The best part about YouTube's free movie shelf is also the most dangerous part. Nothing stays there forever. One day a classic is waiting for you, the next day it is gone behind a rental button. So check these titles, save the ones available in your region, and watch before the free ride disappears. Which movie are you watching first?